Hi, my friends, and happy whatever day it is that you're watching this. Um, we are going to finish up our unit about behavior change. We are going to talk about cardiovascular programming. And again, I'll touch on that a little bit more in person and also review the strength guidelines. So the parameters for resistance training. And I'm also going to go over your workout design #1 assignment that'll be due Friday, March 11th. And that'll be worth 20 points. So I want to just briefly talk about that. And I have a handout to kind of describe what that entails. So let's see if I remember how to do the old Zoom. All right. Scroll. Okay, here we go. So this is where we left off in class, talking a little bit about the internal versus external locus of control. Again, we discussed the concept that people with an internal locus of control believe that they have control over their lives and their situations, and focus on those aspects. So focus on what you can control, because yeah, I mean, it's undeniable that there will be things that happen that are out of our control, and certainly things are not going to always be equal across, all people. We know that. But if we can focus on what we can control, and really focus on the internal locus of control, people are more likely to be successful in whatever their goals are, but also be happier in the long run. People with external locus of control, again, are more focused on those external variables that play a role in our lives, right? So again, instead of believing that I'm in charge of what happens to me, we're more focused on believing that things happen by chance or because of other people versus, happening because of something that we personally did. Okay. Now, very few people have a complete internal or a complete external locus of control. And I described two scenarios in class. A lot of times when we are successful, we're more likely to feel that we have that internal locus of control versus situations where we fail. We're more likely to experience that external locus of control. We want to blame someone else for our failures, whereas we're quick to take credit for our successes. So again, we're kind of probably all on this continuum, and it can, depend on the situation in terms of how we view, our lives. And this can change over time throughout your life, but I think that's important to think about just in general when you think about your outlook of life, but also when working with clients. How can I promote this internal locus of control and really help to empower my clients and help them to understand that they can reach this goal, they can recover from this injury, they can do this. So I think, being a cheerleader is maybe one of the most important things that you can do as a personal trainer, as a rehab person, is to build this confidence in other people that you have control to make this change and to improve. And whether or not you do that is up to you. So I think that can be a really powerful way to kind of approach your clients in the future. So, along with this locus of control and motivation, attitude is another important aspect that we can think about. Now, I want you to think about, somebody that you are around that has a negative attitude, that's just kind of always negative and complaining about a lot of things. That's a hard type of person to be around. And when we think about successful people, particularly in the service industry, it's really important that we don't approach situations that way. It can be tricky because as you get to know someone and become friends with them, it's easy for us to complain about XYZ to that person. And I do it too. It's not, I'm not saying that I'm not doing those things, but it's easy to kind of fall into that. But having a better attitude, having a positive attitude is really important in regards to establishing relationships with these people and kind of setting a precedent. Okay, so attitudes are evaluative social judgments involving a mixture of components. So our beliefs, our feelings, and then our predispositions to act, so our behaviors as well. So again, when we think about our attitude, I think we all can agree that having a positive attitude is a better way to approach really anything. But it's a matter of training yourself to truly do that. Because if you're exposed to people that have negative attitudes, that can really influence your mood. It can really influence how you approach situations. So I think, two parts. You really have to think about it in order to create a positive attitude. But also, you want to try to minimize the amount of time that you spend with people that don't have a positive attitude. And that can be difficult if it's someone in your family or it's someone that you work with, right? So we don't always get to pick, the types of people that we are around, but kind of trying to minimize that kind of noise can be really powerful in terms of just your overall happiness in life. Another thing that I think is really interesting, if you feel like you have a negative attitude or you struggle with complaining and kind of falling into that trap, is think about creating a gratitude log. I know this sounds a little bit cheesy, but it's simply just like a notebook where each night or each morning, one time a day, you want to be consistent about when you do it. Maybe it's first thing in the morning, maybe it's the last thing you do at night. You write down 5 things that you're grateful for that have happened. And it can't be something like vague, like, oh, I'm grateful to have food or whatever. It has to be specific, and it has to be a specific situation or a specific thing that happened that particular day. So for example, I'm grateful that I packed the homemade bran muffins that I made, and those were delicious for lunch. So instead of just saying like, I'm grateful for food, we want to be specific about that. So again, sometimes it's really hard to think of 5 specific things that you're grateful for that happened that particular day. But getting in the habit of writing that down makes you kind of think about your day in a different way. So now you're looking for those positive things. You're looking for those good things that happen to you throughout your day, as opposed to the other way, which is like, I got stuck behind the slowest car today on my drive to school or whatever, and it was so annoying, and this person didn't know how to drive, or you're less focused on those types of situations and more focused on the good things that happen to you. Anyway, that's just a small tip that I think is super useful if you feel like you're having a hard time staying positive, to kind of think about, what are you grateful for? What were the good things that happened to you today? And that might help you to kind of start to change your attitude in general. So again, in order to effectively change someone else's attitude, what do you need? You need to be credible. Okay, so you need to have expertise, be trustworthy. You need to be likable. You can have persuasive arguments, but also consider the listener's original position. So let's say that you have somebody that comes to you for personal training, and they want to lose weight, and they tell you that, the low carb diet is the only way to go. And, we've got to remove sugar from our diet in order to lose weight. And again, it's important that we consider the listener's original position. So it's important for us to listen to this person and be be respectful of their views, but then, show your expertise and show that you're trustworthy, right? And so maybe you want to present a different option for them. Like, yeah, a low carb diet might be effective for some people, but maybe a more sustainable lifestyle might involve, just a general healthy diet. So including, fruits and vegetables, lean meats, etc. So again, kind of framing this in a different way, use your expertise. Maybe you want to drop some big words. So again, that it shows that you are an expert in this area. So, you can think about, for example, maybe my biggest argument when we think about a low carb diet is the lack of glycogen that we are going to have when we try to do high intensity or hard exercise. But also, you're not going to have fruits in your diet. And so we're eliminating a whole food group from your diet, and you're missing out on a lot of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. So again, you can kind of tap into some of those different ideas that way, and try to change somebody's mind that way. Being likable. is really important. And again, we'll continue to talk about that throughout this semester, but how do I build rapport with this person? Even if they have some sort of crazy belief, how can I help them to make this change and show them that I'm a likable, trustworthy person, but I'm listening to their concerns. I'm listening to their viewpoint. So again, those are a couple keys to thinking about when we are trying to change somebody's attitude or change somebody's perspective a little bit. So we think about the process of change, using the same plan for every individual who wishes to change will not work, right? So again, I think that the most important thing we can think about with personal training is it's personal, right? What does this person like? How does it fit into their lifestyle? I think that that's really a very important key. Plans must be personalized. So, you can't be a personal trainer and say, okay, this is the workout of the day and everybody's doing this workout. I hope you don't do that if you are a personal trainer, because number one, that's going to be really boring. You're going to do one thing for your whole day and it's going to be very monotonous. But also, like, you're not serving each individual person to the best of your ability, right? So again, thinking about how can I cater towards this person's goals, towards their likes, their dislikes, and that sort of thing. So timing is important in the process of willful change. So we're going to talk about some issues related to timing here coming up, but essentially when we think about the process of change, it's going to be different for everyone. And if you're a part of this journey, I would say some of the generalizations that we can make is be positive and be a good cheerleader for them. Believe in them. I think that a lot of people really lack confidence when it comes to a lot of things, really. So how can I build that confidence in somebody else? How can I build them up to help them achieve whatever their goals are? So we think about steps for successful behavior modification. First thing, we need to know that there's a problem. So again, I talked about in class that maybe I struggle with one of my biggest, I guess, concerns is this work-life balance. Okay, so I can acknowledge that I'm not good at that. I'm not good at balancing. I'm not good at setting boundaries for myself in terms of, when I'm at home, be at home. When I'm at work, be at work. So there's some issues there I see. So acknowledge that there's a problem. Identify the behavior to change. So again, I want to try to be more present with my kids and less consumed with work when I'm at home. Okay, so believing that those emails can wait and I can respond at a later time when I am back at work. So identifying that problem or identifying the behavior that you wish to change. List advantages and disadvantages of changing that specific behavior. So again, advantages for me would be that I get to spend more quality time with my kids and be more present with them. Disadvantages are that I feel stressed when I have a lot to do when I get to work. And so, that's pretty stressful for me when I have a lot of people that I need to get back to or something. I don't like that feeling. So maybe those are some of the advantages or disadvantages. So set realistic, SMART goals. So again, the goal should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So again, completion date and sign a behavioral contract. Identify your behavioral change plan. So again, maybe my plan would be to delete my email off my phone or something like that, so that I can, not have that temptation to check my email when I'm with my kids. Or maybe I create a plan where I don't check my email, I don't check my phone. Maybe I leave my phone in the car or something when I get home. And then when the kids go to bed at 8:30, then I can get my phone out and, check my email or do whatever I need to do then. So maybe that's something. So again, creating a plan. Monitor your progress towards your desired goal, reevaluate and reassess your goal, and then reward yourself when you achieve your goal. So again, if it was a weight loss goal, maybe we are going to periodically weigh ourselves. Some people like to weigh themselves once a week. Maybe we check body composition every 8 weeks or something like that. So we're periodically evaluating and reassessing our goals in terms of, how we're doing towards reaching whatever that goal was. Choosing a behavior change strategy. So there's a couple different models here. So you can select a technique that is best suited for the individual or best suited for you, depending on your personality and, you know, the logistics of that goal. So shaping is kind of what I prefer, particularly if I'm working with someone else, because I think it prevents or it decreases the risk of burnout. But with shaping, you're going to start slowly and keep steps small and achievable and be able to change the plan if it's not working, and be committed. So with shaping, it's small changes. So again, if I work with individuals who are interested in modifying their nutrition, for example, I have them keep a nutrition log, and each week I'll give them one goal. Okay, so just small things. So maybe this week's goal is that I want you to have 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Let's say you're not having any right now. Let's say that I, observe your nutrition log for 1 week, and I've noticed that you on average have 1 fruit or 1 vegetable every day. Maybe your goal for next week then would be to have 2, right? So again, I'm still not at the guidelines, but I'm gradually going to get there. I'm going to make a small change each week. The reason that is often more successful than going cold turkey and making some, crazy change is that we can slowly modify our behavior. Again, it would be easy for anybody to add a banana each day. Okay, that's easy to do. Okay, but once I establish that habit of having a fruit every day, right, now I can do something else and add another layer, versus the concept of going cold turkey. It's a complete behavioral change versus the shaping is just small changes over time, that's going to allow us to increase the likelihood that you stick with it. Okay, visualization is another technique that might be important for behavior change. Okay, so this is mental practice of the planned behavior to become better prepared for the actual event. So for example, if somebody is interested in weight loss, how could we use visualization? We might have them imagine themselves in, those size 8 pants or whatever. Imagine what you're going to look like. Imagine how you're going to feel. And when we think about visualization and using imagery, the more vivid that image can be, the more realistic it seems and the more effective it is. Okay. Another, visualization technique you might use is, when working with athletes, this is super easy. So imagine yourself, how you're going to feel in that competition on that championship day or whatever. So again, thinking about all the elements of our sensory perception and in terms of creating an image in your head as to how you're going to feel, what it's going to be like, and thinking about all those details. So that mental practice of what it's going to be like when you get to that goal. Okay, modeling learned behaviors through observations of others performing that behavior. And again, we see this a lot in sport. So for example, if I see my teammate do XYZ, or I see one of my friends do XYZ, it seems more real to me. Like I can do that too. Then if my friend could do that, then so can I, right? So again, we're able to be heavily influenced by those around us. So whether those be our friends or family members or teammates, etc., we're learning behaviors through observation of others. Controlling the situation. So put yourself in a situation that will positively influence your behaviors. So again, if I know that going to happy hour with my coworkers is going to result in me drinking too much, and then I end up ordering a pizza or whatever, and I skipped my workout for the day because I was going to work out after work or whatever, then maybe I want to, try to control that situation. So what could I do if that were a common occurrence for me? Maybe I, work out earlier in the day, and I try to eat really healthy earlier in the day, and I try to have a snack before I go to that happy hour, so that I don't make bad nutritional choices later. Okay. Reinforcement. So it promotes behavior from by providing a reward upon completion of that particular behavior. So again, we want to reward ourselves with things that are not counterproductive. So again, if my goal is weight loss, a good reward for losing weight is not to go get ice cream, right? So again, think about what would be an appropriate reward in that scenario. Maybe it's going shopping so that you can get new clothes because you need smaller clothes, or maybe it's you're going to get an hour massage or something like that. So again, how can we have that reward be something that's valued but not counterproductive to what you're trying to achieve? Changing self-talk, again, when we think about, that internal locus of control, this is another aspect, but it can also help to improve one's self-image and encourage the behavior change. So again, helping people to believe that they truly can do this, that they can truly achieve this goal, and have kind of a positive self-talk. So, when you talk to yourself, what are you saying? Are you saying that this is stupid, I should have never tried this? Or are you saying like, heck yeah, I just lost 1 pound, like I can keep going, like I can do this? So changing that self-talk so that people are more positive with themselves will improve their self-image, but also also improve their chances of success and happiness, really, which is at the end of the day what we're really after. So motivational interviewing, again, I'm just going to kind of brush the surface here with this, but it's a style of talking with people constructively about, it's basically a way of talking to people that allows them, this would be my description of it. It allows them to think they came up with the solution themselves. Because again, if I can come up with the solution myself, I'm more likely to own that and see it through, as opposed to if somebody tells me like, you need to do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be a little more resistant to that. So again, coming up with a solution myself increases the likelihood that I actually kind of follow through with it. Right. So it's a style of talking to people constructively about reducing their health risks or making behavior changes. So motivational interviewing, and again, if this is something that's interesting for you, I would recommend taking Dr. DeShaw's class. She teaches a J term all about this, and it's really a neat skill that can be applied to so many different professions, really, but not even just professions. Like I think about like my relationship with my husband, and being able to use this in order to communicate well with that particular person, and how can we use this to have him come up with his own solutions for some of his his concerns with his business or whatever, right? So again, this can be a super effective skill, in my opinion, to just talk to people in general. Like I think this is awesome. So research on motivational interviewing shows that it results in improved weight control, behavior adherence, glucose control for people that are type 2 diabetics, and weight loss outcomes, results in increased physical activity and energy expenditure in cardiac rehab patients. It can increase our fruit and veggie consumption, 5 times as effective as brief advice for sustained smoking cessation. So again, when we're trying to get people to quit smoking, instead of just telling them like, okay, here's what you're going to do, it's more about having them come up with the solution and what works for them in terms of how do we get from point A to point B being your end goal. So what is it? What are we talking about when we talk about motivational interviewing? So number one, I want to establish rapport and elicit change talk. Okay. So I'm going to have open-ended questions. So I'm not just going to say like yes or no questions. It needs to be more open-ended. That's going to allow them to open up and give you more information, gives you information that they want to share with you. Okay. Affirmations, reflections, and summaries. So this is the key pieces to motivational interviewing. So I might say something like, a good general question would be like, what's your goal with personal training, or something like that. And that can lead you to ask other questions as well. So they might say XYZ. Oh, I want to lose weight because I have a grandchild and I want to be able to get down on the floor and play with that child. And so when you do your affirmation and your reflection, you can sometimes reach further and say something like, wow, it sounds like family is really important to you. And by saying that, then you might get more information. They might say, yeah, like my sister passed away a few years ago. And, so I've just tried to stay a lot closer to my son and his kids because XYZ, So essentially by making those reflections, or summaries, sometimes you get more information out of that person at the end of it. Okay. One thing that I'm not good at, but is important in this skill, is expressing empathy. I know it must be hard to try to lose weight when you're so busy with XYZ issues. Okay. So again, we want to be empathetic towards the person and try to understand their viewpoint. Avoid argumentation. So again, don't be so matter of fact, which would be my, I guess, where I would want to go with it, and just be like, well, it's not that hard. All you need to do is exercise and eat less. Like this is not that big of a deal, right? So avoid argumentation. Don't be offensive like that. That would be offensive to most people, I would say. And again, if they have a different viewpoint than you, that's okay. I'm not saying just like agree with them, but just kind of like avoid like arguing with them in this scenario. Okay. Follow the client's lead. Okay, so let them kind of lead the conversation. Support self-efficacy. So again, we want to try to build them up and give them the confidence that they can do this, they can achieve whatever their goal is. Affirmation, convey respect and understanding. Yeah, dealing with weight loss issues is really hard. And you've worked so hard in order to achieve this goal. Okay. Reflection. So again, you can repeat their statement back to them, not in the form of a question, but just like, wow, it sounds like, this has been really challenging to you because, you're working full time and you've got a family and you've got all these other things that you're involved in. So, so again, we want to kind of reflect back to them so they know that we're listening. And summarize, this is what I'm hearing you say. So again, some of those reflections and summaries can take a little bit of a leap, and you can, make assumptions that will allow them to correct you. Okay. So my previous example was, wow, it sounds like your family is really important to you and, blah, blah, blah. Well, they didn't actually say that their family was important, right? You kind of assumed that, and that will allow that person to either correct you if they're like, no, I don't care about my family that much. I just want to be able to do X, Y, Z, or, nobody's going to say that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you can make those assumptions and that person can correct you if you are wrong, and that's okay. So I'm not saying that these assumptions have to be right all the time. The most important thing that you can do is help them to build self-efficacy. You want to facilitate this change talk. So what do we need to do to make this change? You can offer advice, but really what we want them to do is come up with their own plan. We want them to kind of reach this conclusion themselves, right? So then you're kind of there to just facilitate the conversation, listen and be a good listener, and then end with a summary and a plan. Okay, so it sounds like, you're really interested in weight loss, but time is really a tricky issue for you. So, maybe we can start with XYZ. So again, we want to offer some advice, but really we want them to lead the conversation in terms of what we want to do. Change talk. So again, what are some examples of this? I really want to lose weight. I've done it before. Reason, my kids really want me to. Need, I can't live like this. Commitment, I can get this under control. So again, do you need all of these? Do you need desirability, reason, need, and commitment? Not necessarily. You need to have a couple of them in order to increase the likelihood that this person will stick with this change. Discrepancy and advice. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to lose weight? Okay, most people are going to say 10, 9 or 10, whatever. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in your ability to lose weight? A lot of times they're going to say like 2 or 3, right? So that's why they're coming to you, right? Because they believe that you can help them to achieve this goal, right? So again, if these numbers are different, then you can use that to give them advice based on what they decide to do, okay? So again, you can help them to gain that confidence. and help them to, gain the tools that they need in order to reach their goal. So again, that will give you some ideas about how important it is to be a good cheerleader for this particular person. So some statistics about successful weight loss or successful losers. Of a study of more than 5,000 successful losers. So we're looking at on average 30 to 300 pounds over a 5.5 year period. Okay, so here are some of the common statistics that we see, or the common things that we would want to promote then in our clients, right? 78% eat breakfast every day, 75% weigh themselves at least once a week, 62% watch less than 10 hours of TV per week, and 90% exercise about 1 hour per day. So again, just some statistics on successful losers and how we can kind of promote that in our clients, right? Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is designing a cardiovascular endurance program. So again, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with this, just want to run through this briefly and you can look through these guidelines on your own. But here we're looking at how do I design a cardiovascular endurance program for a client? So if their goal is to improve their cardiovascular fitness, what do we need to do? Okay. Again, we've talked about a lot of these factors in exercise physiology, but ACSM recommends 5 days a week, 30 minutes, moderate, or you could do vigorous 3 days a week, 20 minutes. Okay. Exercise done 1 to 2 times per week at moderate and vigorous intensity can improve health and fitness benefits for these people. So again, we got to start wherever they are and meet them there and allow ourselves to kind of gradually progress this person week after week. And again, if we have somebody that has these goals, our most important thing that we can do is help them establish consistency. Okay. So again, we've got to keep them motivated week after week, month after month in order to build ourselves up. Okay, so how do we estimate their exercise intensity? Lots of different ways we can do this. I'm trying to think, we have a exercise intensity monitoring assignment, and that's not till April that we're going to do, but you'll use this slide for that. So again, looking at heart rate, you can see the intensities there on the left and percentage of heart rate max. It would be a good idea for you when you're writing your workouts to utilize this. So again, if I'm going to have them do moderate 20 minutes, okay, well, I need to figure out what their max heart rate is, and then what is 64 to 76% of that. Okay, so 120 to 128 beats per minute or whatever. And then tell them that, like, have them actually use heart rate in order to monitor their intensity. Like, that's why they're using those heart rate monitors, so that we can give them specific exercise intensity guidelines. Okay. You could also use RPE. I would say that's the easiest thing to do, but I do want you to kind of start to experiment with that heart rate stuff, because I think that it is a useful skill in terms of prescribing exercise as to, okay, what's the heart rate zone that we want them to be in. Okay. Commonly used equations for figuring out their max heart rate, you can just use that 220 minus your age at the top. There's some other methods that you can use. You're welcome to use any of these methods to figure out what their heart rate max is, but that 220 minus your age is easy enough. You can do that if you'd like. So anyway, those are a couple different equations. Exercise duration, again, 150 minutes moderate, 75 minutes vigorous, one of those two, again, working our way, progressing to that, starting with where they're at. If they are interested in improving cardiovascular fitness and they're already at these minimum guidelines, guess what? Have them do more. Okay. And again, we can prescribe exercise outside of class. If this is their goal, we can tell them, like, hey, you need to do XYZ on your own these 3 days in order to continue to improve your cardiovascular fitness. What if they're interested in weight loss? Again, we want to increase from 30 minutes per day up to 60 minutes per day. But really, as I mentioned here in capitals, consistency is the most important piece of this puzzle. Modes for improving aerobic exercise to improve physical fitness. So This is weird, but this is in your little textbook, so I thought I would include it. So looking at different exercise types and who is this recommended for when we think about aerobic exercise. Again, don't limit yourself to just like the treadmill and the elliptical. That's really what I want you to get out of this. So there's lots of other things that we can do. So group A, endurance activities that require minimal skill, walking, cycling, dancing, things like that. Group B is vigorous intensity endurance activities that require minimal skill. So jogging, running, rowing, spinning, elliptical, stair climbing. Okay. Group C, endurance activities that require skill. So swimming, cross country skiing, skating, all those you have to have a little bit of coordination and skill in order to do. And then D, this is the area that I don't want you to limit yourself, like recreational activities and recreational sport is a great way for people to get active, and it's fun. Like, who doesn't want to play basketball? Who doesn't want to freaking go on a hike? Who doesn't want to play racquetball? So think outside of the box. Like, if you want to do some of these activities, recreational activities with your clients, like, you're more than welcome to. We've had groups of students in the past that will work together and set up like, okay, yeah, we're all going to play basketball together, or okay, yeah, we're going to do yoga, the four of us together, or whatever. So don't limit yourself, be creative with some of these workouts, and use your classmates to kind of collaborate too. Maybe you want to have a couple of you get together and do something in the pool or whatever. So I want you to really start thinking outside of the box in terms of how can we make exercise fun. It doesn't have to be just lifting weights or just going on the elliptical or whatever. So how can we keep it fun and do some of these fun activities and be fit and be active? Okay. Again, rate of progression, we want to follow a 10% rule. So you don't want to do more than 10% more each week than what you did the week before. Okay. So for example, if I did 150 minutes this week, okay, 10% of that is 15 minutes. So next week, I can add 15 minutes to my weekly volume. So instead of 150 minutes, the next week I'd be able to do 165 minutes, and so on and so forth. So we don't want to progress at a rate faster than 10%. Okay. You could also use 5 to 10 minutes for every 1 to 2 weeks for the first 4 to 6 weeks of the training. Again, when we think about progression, it's better to err on the side of slow progression than too much progression when we think about our risk of injury. Okay, so we're done with that. Oops. Okay, so now I have a couple different handouts that I want to show you. Let's see, how do I do this? Screen share again. Okay, resistance training guidelines. Okay, so here you can see, and again, this is posted for you. This should be nothing new. So these are the strength training guidelines set out by NSCA. So if I have a client that's interested in muscular strength, for example, and your goal for that workout is muscular strength, you need to follow these guidelines, okay? So when you're writing your workouts, when you're actually doing these workouts, you should follow these guidelines. If you have a client that says they're interested in muscular strength and you put on their workout to do 3 by 15 reps of squats, you're not helping them to gain strength. You're helping them to gain muscular endurance. Okay. So I'm kind of a stickler about this stuff. Like, these guidelines are set up because from a scientific standpoint, we know to be true that doing less than 6 reps with 2 to 5 minutes rest and a high intensity is the best avenue for us to gain strength. Can I gain some strength by doing 3 by 15? Yeah, I can. Especially if I'm not very fit to start with. Like, yes, I will gain some strength that way. But in order to improve efficiency and get the most bang for our buck, we got to follow the guidelines. The great news is the science is out there, right? That NSCA and some of these researchers have done the work. So now all you have to do is follow the guidelines in terms of, setting this person up for success if they're interested in one of these goals. Now, if you have somebody that's just interested in general health, then you can kind of do whatever, right? We want them to get their heart rate up. We want them to put their muscles under stress. But the guidelines aren't as important in that scenario. If you're working with an athlete, it's very important that you follow these guidelines. If you're working with the general population that just wants to gain fitness or something along those lines, then you have a lot more wiggle room in terms of how you want to set up their program. Okay. I also gave you the guidelines for maintaining health. ACSM guidelines related to resistance training are down here as well. Okay. So again, I just want you to use these guidelines when you're writing your workouts. Okay. So that's really my main concern with that. And again, that's posted for you. I wish I could spend like a couple weeks talking about program design for resistance training, but hopefully you covered that in a good amount of detail in theory of strength and conditioning. So the last thing I have to show you is your workout design assignment. So here you can see, again, how I want you to submit your workouts that you have your clients doing. Okay, so include the goal of the workout. So if the goal is cardiovascular fitness, include that at the top. What's their warm up? So they did 5 minutes on the treadmill at 60% intensity for their aerobic warm up. Okay. Maybe you had them do some dynamic stretches. I want you to be detailed about this. So you had them do high knees, butt kicks. You had them do, leg swings, whatever. Okay. Then when you move to your workout, again, include your number of sets, reps, intensity, and rest intervals. So if I have my goal as muscular strength, then you can bet that I'm going to be looking to make sure that you actually did muscular strength in the workout. So you had less than 6 reps per set, and you had X amount for their rest between sets, etc. Okay. You can have more than one goal in a workout. So maybe you have muscular strength as your main goal, and then you had some with cardiovascular fitness, or something like that. So you can have more than one goal for that. Let's see. You need to include intensity. So this can be heart rate or RPE. Again, if you didn't do that previously, start adding those in for your next workouts. Okay. Cool down. Again, we want to make sure we're having them do an aerobic, a little bit of aerobic cool down so that their heart rates are getting down, and then doing some static stretching as well. And then lastly, you're going to finish up with a couple sentences or a little short paragraph about how the workout went. So this workout went great. My client really enjoyed it, but it was a little bit short. So I had to add in a couple abdominal exercises at the end. Something like that would be a nice little reflection. Okay. So again, if you have questions on that, you can let me know. I'll create a Dropbox for you, or you can hand it in hard copy in person, and that will be due on March 11th. So it'll be due, you should have 4 workouts to hand in for that. And the first one will be worth 20 points, but essentially you'll hand in all the workouts that you do with your client throughout the semester. So all right, those are my details. In class on Friday, we are going to practice that motivational interviewing, and then we're going to spend the rest of the time working on program design for cardiovascular fitness. And I have some examples to look at for program design for resistance training as well. So that's what's coming up on Friday. So it'll be a work day. I'll have you guys work together. I've got some case studies ready to go for that. So let me know if you have any questions on that first workout design assignment. Otherwise, I hope you have a great and wonderful day.